Hello friends! After removing the Ford AOD Overdrive transmission from my 1988 Cougar parts car, it's now time to install it into my 1970 Cougar. By the way, Mustangs of this era are pretty much the same as the Cougar. I will be verifying that the torque converter and bellhousing bolt patterns match like people say they do. I will have the drive shaft modified to work for this application. I will raise and bolt the tranny to the engine. And I will be modifying the transmission crossmember. Check my channel for all the previous videos, but now let's get on with it. In the previous episode, I removed the C6 3-speed from my 1970, and now I can take a look at both transmissions next to each other. I have read many articles about how this AOD overdrive transmission will bolt right up to my 351 Cleveland. Let's see if it really will. Okay, so measurements. Torque converter out of the 88, 11 and a half. Torque converter on the 70. Look at that, 11 and a half. Length. Let me see if I can Google that and then confirm it roughly with the tape measure. Google for the win. One of the first links after all of the advertisements. pttransmission.com. Wow, what a cool chart this is. It's got the transmission dimensions. Look at this. So I'm looking for A, and I've got a C6 small block, 33 and a half. AOD, small block bellhousing, 30 and 3/8. So yeah, we're talking about like a 3-inch difference, almost. 33 and a half. Yeah, that looks right. And 30. And that looks right too. So I need a drive shaft that is 3 1/8. I need that much longer on my drive shaft. Now, the Cougar 70 Cougar drive shaft, there's an issue with the yoke. So this yoke from the 88, from the AOD, is obviously smaller, and so different teeth, whatever. So I'd be wanting to use this yoke. I'm just thinking that this one is longer than that one, but it's not 3 inches longer, Nah, they're the same length. I don't even think the diameter of them is the same. No. I guess the right thing to do would be to tell him to put this yoke on that drive shaft and make sure that its length is 3 1/8 of an inch longer than it was. I guess that's the plan. So, yeah, we need 7 pliers. Not me. I guess they say I need new joints. Go ahead and install them. We're trying to budget this thing now. On budget, you know what I'm saying? Oh yeah. There you go. So I'm hanging on the spot I thought I'd hang on. That's this grimy, dirty collar. Almost there. Get away from that. And now we get this one. off. And I'll get that off. We'll probably get this one off, or it'll take them out or something. I don't know. Dad, I'm not right there. Come on. Get there. Grab now. Oh, yeah, I don't know that, but yeah, it's kind of greasy or something. It didn't survive. Not that one, actually rolling. Oh, yeah, check it out. You know, I had it right there or something. I don't know. I can see that. Little spot there. Imagine the ding on the side. What did I use it with? No, it was the, So here's the finished product, a 1970 Driveshaft lengthened by 3 1/8 inch with new sealed Spicer U-joints, balanced and painted. Although the paint was not quite cured yet and got scuffed, but I hardly care at this point. One additional item was the 70 Driveshaft front U-joint did not match the size of the 88, so the driveline company switched out the whole front knuckle to match. After all, they had to cut the driveshaft anyway, so they grabbed the right sized one off their shelf and welded it in after extending the front of the driveshaft. The keen-eyed viewer will notice they also knocked off the balance ring around the yoke. So the midplate from the 351 Cleveland fits just fine on the AOD, which means of course the bell housing will fit to the engine as well. And the inspection cover from the 70 will need to be used as well. Measuring the back spacing of the torque converter reveals they match. The Flexplate bolts were not in good condition, but I couldn't find an exact ARP bolt length to match, so I went and measured the depth of the holes. It seems to be threaded all the way down. It's 1 1/4 inch with the flex plate and that spacer in place. 1 1/4 inch is the depth, and then I just drug the tip of that, put it in all the way, and kind of angled it and drug it across until I felt it start to grab threads. It's pretty much threaded all the way down, so that means I should be pretty safe getting an 1 inch long 7/16 bolt by my estimation, or 9/10 of an inch. So yeah, I'll order based on that. I don't really feel comfortable ordering a bolt that's shorter than those. While I wait for replacement flex plate bolts to arrive, I'm going to strip and paint the midplate. And clean up the flywheel. Okay. There we go. Replacement bolts. And they're, yeah, like, I don't even think that's 1/8 of an inch longer than the originals. Here you see me doing something very important before reinstalling the flex plate. You should always clean out the threads on old engines with a tap. Check out the grime that came out of these holes. Included with the ARP bolts was a lubricant designed to allow accurate torquing of the bolts. The instructions written on the lube package itself said to put lube not only on the underside of the bolt heads, but also on the threads. This made me uneasy because I was intending to use Loctite, which is always recommended on rotating assemblies. But I did as instructed, and after I bolted and torqued the flex plate in, twice because I forgot the mid plate, I noticed this little hidden piece of paper in the packaging that directly contradicts the lube instructions that was in the same package. Lube only on the underside of the bolt heads and use Loctite on the threads. So I pulled the bolts back out one at a time, cleaned the lube from everything, and retorqued them down. The 85 foot-pound rating written here matched factory spec for the Cleveland, but if they differed I would refer to the ARP spec because they know their hardware best. Anyway, so I'm just going to go torque these again because that was so much fun. I enjoyed it so much that I wanted to do it again. Okay. All right. I think this is the last one. Used a paint pen, of course. So that way I only have to torque each one once. Put the transmissions next to each other again and check out the locations of the brackets. And boy, do they look close. I'm sorry, the tranny mount. And the fact that we have a little bit of flexibility here, well, let's just say that it might be close enough. That'd be nice. Some people say it bolts right in, but most of them don't talk about the crossmember. It's gotten to the point where I probably should just go ahead and at least get this tranny close to where it's going to be. Probably just go ahead and put it all the way in. I need to remember to put some fluid in the torque converter because it's been completely drained, because it actually has a drain plug, so I drained all the old fluid out of it. So I didn't really account for the output shaft length in relation to the case. I just measured the cases, but as long as this is, I guess I can answer my question right now. Let's just measure that. The distance from the end of the case to the end of the output shaft is 1 5/16. Anyway, and this is shorter. This is more like 1 inch, 1 1/16. So this is shorter than that. So we're not going to run into a problem where we're too tight. If anything, we're going to be, you know, a 1/2 inch too short on our drive shaft. But it also depends on where the yoke is designed to sit, you know, and it's a slip yoke, so as the axle moves up and down, the distance between the axle and the transmission increases because of the angle, and so it's designed to slip out just a slight bit. So you know, frankly, I think we're going to be fine. You can buy the drive shaft itself in steel or aluminum, and the drive shaft is 50 inches long, and that's what I made this one. That's why I was so certain of the dimensions. But as you can see, they're pretty much spot on 50. Not forgetting to clean the bell housing bolt holes with a 7/16 tap. Okay, yeah. So look, I don't want to get linkage, that's what it is. What's winding out? This week. Oh, wait. It's turning. What's that? No. Okay, so we're still tilted. Oh, you're not winding up here. Maybe shimmy over this way. Oh, it's going in. Oh, it's so good to have wind outputs. Just checking clearances here real quick. Most I can get to them like that. When it's all said and done. Yeah, it smells like we walk here. So, it's like it's now the transmission is closer. And I'm pulling the transmission closer now. It's both here. Big difference. I'm gonna have to go now. I'm gonna have to go now. What? So, you can see back there. Right here. Let's try to go in. That's how it reaches. And it does. Alright, ladies and gentlemen. We have you. These babies here. On my side, it's snug. On your side, it's okay now. Oh, boy. Respect. All right. Okay. The suspense is getting me. I gotta see if this cross member fits. It's kind of looking good, frankly. It's looking pretty good. Let's see. Oh, oh, really? Come on. The pan comes for, it's close to this. The pan is too close to this. So, I think that's our problem. Yeah, no way. Oh, well, one thing is that the other transmission, the bolts are further away. So that's one reason why that's not going to work. And let's see, where's our hole here? And the other reason is the pan's in the way. So we need to clearance this. So there's no way this one's going to work. It's way too long. Like maybe I can use the C6 tranny mount. So I don't have to redo the holes. If you put a transmission on its end, you better be prepared for it to leak any remaining oil that it has in it out, fluid out. So yeah, the 70 Cougar's motor mount, or transmission mount, fits on the AOD, and that will allow me to line up the holes, but the pan for the AOD still comes, you know, here basically. So it doesn't interfere with this because until this angle right here. And basically what I'm going to wind up doing over here is I'm probably, I mean, it's hitting in the corner over here, so I don't know how much I'm going to need to take off of that. You know, perhaps the whole thing. And then I might have to, of course, you know, once I've cut that out, I'm going to weld something back to reinforce. You know, I'm going to have to come across here, I guess, with something right on the edge of that, I guess. Once I get this line, that's a course, that's a course line. I'm not sure exactly where I'm going to be hitting. Should be pretty close. But as I bring it up, it hits the pan is close to the frame rail. So this whole thing has to come out because it hits the pan and or the transmission above the pan, which means, you know, I need a way to span this, and obviously I'm not going this way, but if I go this way I can make it. However, the frame rail is right here. It's that thick, so I can't just go across here. That won't make it. So these ears are kind of useless at this point, so I'm gonna flatten these so they go straight up, and then I can go across. I can weld a piece across, I believe. Yeah, the frame rail comes like this and then goes like that. So it's the corner of the, there's a frame rail that goes across, and it goes like this, and I don't know what it does over the hump. I think it stops, but it goes like this, and you know, it's like this. So I won't really know if bringing these ears up will do the trick, but I'm fairly certain. So I'm going to cut some relief cuts in here, maybe 2 here and 1 here, and then pound these straight and then weld something across them. So weld up that part, create a piece that goes here. Let's test fit it, see. So here's the mount in its spot. I can weld stuff on here. I'll probably bend this section up as well and then reinforce it, box it in as it were. And then the only other thing I want to do is make sure that I didn't screw myself as far as the mount goes. So let's see if I can measure this. Oh yeah, we're good. We're good. Goes like that. So basically what we want to do is we're going to weld up our cut pieces. We're going to bang that piece up. We're going to cut this off. There we go. So that's going to get cut off. As it so happens, I don't have any flat stock. I've got angle iron, but it's too thick. This is the right thickness, so I'm going to flatten this out and use it. I'll have to cut this piece off here too. I don't mind the angle, you know, of this bracket, you know. Nothing wrong with that. I can spin it around the other way too, but so let's cut this off and flatten it out. I could probably go inside and not with her. Like I thought I had to spread it out, but yeah. Now we clear the tranny down here fully, and geez. Well, I think I'm almost there. I need to trim just a little bit more off of that. Fabricating is so much fun. So instead of just cutting that off, I bent it over. And okay, there we go. We're not hitting the tunnel. We're very close. Extremely very close. We're just hitting on this corner here. Oh, I just can't. Can't do it. I gotta cut that corner off, otherwise this is just not gonna work. Oh, finally goes right in. I'm right up against the transmission here. I have a 1/16 or so of an inch here, so this thing needs to bend in more. But I mean, it's right there. It's right there. I just need to move it over a little bit. That way, this needs to be further that way. And then after I do that, I will come around the outside of this with, you know, reinforcement, gusseting, whatever you want to call it. Because this here is not strong at all. So yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. Okay, just gonna cut this out. Okay, so after several fits and refits, I got the bracket right where I need it. I've got our brace welded around the outside. Just need to close up the box. Here are those 2 ears that I cut off earlier. Guess what? Pretty close to what I need for this. And this, that angle iron that I had is thicker. This is 1/8 and this is maybe 3/16 or something. Yeah, probably. So anyway, I'm gonna get to that. Ran out of gas for my MIG, but I have a flux core, and hence the mess. Anyway. So I got to cut this off, got a lot of grinding to do, final test fit, then I can clean it up and paint it. I'll be done. So it's done in all its boogery glory, and I'm just going to give it a lick of paint to protect it, and then we'll put it in the car. Here is our new Crossmembe, our beefed up Crossmembe. All right, so need to come this way if we can. Maybe up a little bit. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, we need to come over this way. There's that bolt over there as leverage. Oh, well, okay. we should be good. I don't know why this isn't closing up the gap. Certainly did on my test fitting. Just show you what's going on here. Only until I got it all cinched up did I discover this problem. Well, you're just gonna stick everywhere. All right, so yeah, this thing here is in the way. Even after I wallered that hole out a bit. So, oh, there we go. Almost like I'm getting paint on this. No. Of course, this bolt is not. No, I know this one. Yeah, I just made that. Yeah, that's what it is. Okay. Okay. Torch factory set. All right, well, we're in. We're in. Barely fit. Barely fit. You done your job. Go back to the So we have it. What do we have left? We have cooler lines. Got the starter, of course. Probably put the starter in next. We got the cooler lines. We got the speedometer, which just gets plugged in. It's right there. We got the gear selector, shifter assembly, whatever, and of course the TV cable, which is going to be the most difficult. That's that thing that's wiggling, hanging down there. That's part of the linkage. I've got a generic TV cable kit coming. We're going to see how we do with that. We're going to take a good look at it and see if it's something we even want to use. It doesn't have to go to the other end of the engine, but I imagine the universal ones, you can cut them down, right? So anyway, I'm going to get the starter in. I'm going to get the dipstick tube in. Don't need to see me do that. And then I guess we'll get started on probably the cooler lines next. Supposedly some nice new Spicer sealed bearings. Looks good to me. Okay, so I have to put this in a neutral because I have to rotate that. All right, so we're in park, I think. Reverse, neutral. It's a cute sound. Here's to hoping that sound goes away when we get everything set up. But yeah, I think we're good on this drive shaft length. That's important. I didn't really want to think that I'd have to spend money again, seeing as how I might have been a ½ inch off. Let's do this the slow way, right? I'm going to get replacements for this hardware eventually. Probably. So my next upgrade on this car is going to be this rear end. I just want to run it and see how ridiculously high the gears are and sort of make a guesstimate on what I want to do for the gearing in here. This is a 3.0 rear end, and that's way too high for a 4-speed auto. I'm thinking 373 or 378 or whatever the equivalent is for a Ford 9-inch. I think there was like a 389. And we had just enough play really to get the U-joint in, so I think I'm right on the money. Well, that's it for this video. We have more work to do, so make sure you subscribe and catch the next video. Thanks for watching, friends.